In July 2020, European policymakers made a massive pledge to build 40 gigawatts of green hydrogen electrolysis capacity by 2030. This chart shows the gap between that promise and reality. Today, the total installed capacity is roughly 500 megawatts. That is just 0.77% of the original target. This shortfall isn't from a lack of global demand. The world consumes about 100 million tons of hydrogen every year. But right now, less than 1% of that is produced without emitting carbon. Yet amidst this domestic stall, a heritage engineering firm from Belgium called Cockerill controls roughly a quarter of the global market for these green hydrogen systems, operating 5 distinct gigafactories. We need to look at how a 200-year-old legacy company conquered the global green hydrogen industry while entirely sidestepping Europe's own domestic strategy. To understand why companies are chasing this technology despite the slow political rollout, we have to look at the chemistry. This visualization compares energy density. Hydrogen packs 33.3 kilowatt-hours of energy into a single kilogram. A standard lithium-ion battery holds about 0.25. That means hydrogen is roughly 100 times more energy dense by weight. Because passenger cars only need to move a few people over relatively short distances, that battery weight is manageable. For everyday driving, battery electric vehicles are the efficient winner. But scale that up to a 40-ton truck, a long-haul airplane, or a massive cargo ship, and the math breaks down. The batteries required would weigh so much that they would eliminate the vehicle's ability to actually carry freight. The same rule applies to heavy manufacturing. Making steel requires extreme industrial heat, generating about 7 to 9% of global emissions. Hydrogen is the only viable way to replace the coal currently firing those blast furnaces. The chemical properties of green hydrogen make it an absolute requirement for keeping heavy industry running without fossil fuels. So the physics work perfectly. The roadblock preventing Europe from actually building this infrastructure comes down to the price of energy. This chart illustrates the market reality. Producing green hydrogen in Europe currently costs 4 to 8 euros per kilogram. Gray hydrogen, extracted from natural gas, costs just 1 to 2 euros. That premium means the math for industrial buyers simply doesn't hold up. As a result, companies have canceled or frozen 23 major green hydrogen projects across the continent, wiping out nearly 30 gigawatts of planned capacity. Faced with those prohibitive domestic costs, Cockerill's management decided not to wait for the European market to fix itself. They went directly to the regions actually scaling the infrastructure. They formed a joint venture to build their largest plant in China and aggressively expanded their manufacturing footprint into the United States and India. Slow deployment and severe economic constraints are pushing the continent's most capable engineering firms to build their technology everywhere but home. Europe is trapped in a specific cycle. It invents the underlying technology and drafts the regulations to govern it, but watches the actual industrial deployment happen on other continents. The engineering itself is highly competitive. Capturing a quarter of the global electrolyzer market proves that European industrial heritage can still produce world-leading systems. But while local European projects stall, waiting for subsidies and cheaper electricity, global heavy industry continues to run heavily on fossil fuels, with little sign of slowing down. The continent has positioned itself as the world's most advanced green laboratory, yet it consistently struggles to become its own customer. Fixing this requires moving past multi-gigawatt political announcements and focusing squarely on the cost structures holding back actual construction. If policymakers cannot bridge the gap between their scientific capabilities and economic reality, they risk turning the old continent into an open-air museum of ideas that the rest of the world actually built.